Hello students, today we will continue with the same lesson, acids, bases and salt. In the previous class we have already studied about the different types of indicators, the natural indicators, synthetic indicators, then olfactory indicators, then the properties of acids and bases, the physical properties of acids and the chemical properties of acids, then physical properties of bases and chemical properties of bases. Now let's continue today's class. Now there is a question, then when we say when we talk about acids, so what is common in all the acids? There is a question that what is common in all the acids, right? See here, Arrhenius has given the definition for acid as acid is a substance that produce H plus ion on dissociation with the water. All acids produce H plus ion on dissociation with the water. Let us see, HCl, in the aqueous form, on dissociation with the water, it form H plus and Cl minus ion. This is in the aqueous state. Okay? We can take another example of an acid, H2SO4. Aqueous state means mixed with the water, it will form 2H plus SO4, 2 minus ion, that too in the aqueous state. Right? Now another example we can take HNO3, nitric acid in combination with the water, it is H plus ion and NO3 minus ion in the aqueous state, right? So what all acids have in common is that all the acid, they produce H plus ion on dissociation with water. Now the presence of this H plus ion is responsible for the acidic nature of an acid, and also due to the presence of this H plus ion, an acid is able to conduct electricity when it is dissolved in the water, right? So we can study this with the help of an activity. Let us see what the activity is. See here, see one more thing I would like to tell you here, that see here, when the HCl get dissociated and produce H plus ion and Cl minus ion in the aqueous state mixed with the water, then what happens, this H plus ion do not exist alone, right? This H plus ion do not exist alone, rather it exists along with the water, right? In combination with this H plus ion exists in combination with the water. So it is also called as, so it becomes H3O plus. So this H3O plus, it is also called as hydronium ion. It is also called as hydronium ion. So we can say that acid on dissociation with water produces hydronium ion, right? Now acid conduct electricity. Let us see with the help of an activity, right? Now what we are going to take a beaker, right? Then put a rubber cork into it, then place 2 nails on this rubber cork, connect it to a connecting wire, then connect it with the battery, attach a bulb, key. Right? Now what I am going to take in this beaker is water. This water is mixed with HCl. I will put some HCl into this beaker. ये beaker हमने लिया, इसमें पानी ले लिया और हमने क्या इसमें ऐड किया? We have added HCl into it. Right? Now the apparatus has been set up. Now you see, I have taken acid solution in here in this beaker. Now what will happen? The bulb will glow. Right? The bulb will grow. There are other substances also, for example glucose, alcohol, other substances are also there. They also have hydrogen, but when mixed with the water, they do not produce H plus ion, right? They do not produce H plus ion on dissociation with water, so they do not conduct electricity. This also we can study with the help of this activity. See here what we are going, I am going to change the solution, right? Previously I have taken water mixed with HCl, right? Now what I am going to take, water, and I am going to add glucose into it, okay? I am going C6H12O6. I will add glucose into it. Now let me check whether the bulb glows or not. See here, if the bulb glows means it is a conducting solution. Now in this case the bulb will not glow because this glucose is not able to produce free H plus ion into this water. So this solution is not conducting electricity and the bulb will not glow. You can repeat the experiment with alcohol also. You can add in this beaker water plus alcohol, right? Water plus alcohol we will take in this beaker. Now see what will happen. Again in this case also the bulb will not glow. That means even alcohol, though it is having hydrogen, it is not able to produce free H plus ion, so it is not conducting electricity. So we can say acid have in common that all acid produce H plus ion, all acid produce H plus ion, and this H plus ion is responsible for the acidic nature of the acid, and also the acid conduct electricity when dissolved in water because of the presence of this H plus ion, right? Now next is, what is the role of water in acid? Okay, now what is the role of water in acid? See here, this thing can also be explained with the help of an activity. Let us perform the activity. Okay, I will take a test tube, a boiling tube, right, and I will add NaCl. Say I'll take 2 grams of sodium chloride, common salt. I'll add here. Then I will put concentrated sulfuric acid, H2SO4, concentrated sulfuric acid into this test tube. Now what will happen? A chemical reaction will take place here, and I will cover this, the mouth of the test tube, let me cover it with a cork. Okay? Mouth of the test tube is covered with the cork. Then I will attach a delivery tube here. Okay, I will attach a delivery tube here. Now the chemical reaction between H2SO4 and NaCl will take place. It is a type of double displacement reaction, right? NaCl will react with concentrated H2SO4, and what is the product form? NaHSO4, sodium hydrogen sulfate, and HCl gas, and HCl gas will be liberated out, right? And HCl gas will be liberated out. Now this HCl gas will move through this delivery tube, right? This HCl gas will move through this delivery tube. Now we know that. Now how can we check that this gas is an hydrochloric acid, hydrochloride gas? How can we check it? So I will bring a blue litmus paper, right? I will bring this blue litmus paper near the mouth of the test tube, and we know that when the blue litmus paper comes in contact with some acid, it will change into red color, isn't it? It will change into red color. Now when I bring this blue litmus paper near the mouth of this delivery tube, what I see that there is no change in the color of the litmus paper, right? There is no change in the color of the litmus paper. Then again what I did, we will wet this paper, okay? We will wet this paper. Then what will I, that is I will put some water into this, and so that now it is moist or wet. Then again I will bring this blue litmus paper near the mouth of this delivery tube from which the HCl gas is coming out. Then what I will observe that this blue litmus paper is now changed into red color. It has changed into red color. Why? Previously I brought a dry litmus paper, and then in the second time I brought a wet litmus paper, and so the wet litmus paper changed into red color. That means water is very much essential for the production of the H plus ion, and when H plus ion is released, then only an acid can show its acidic behavior. This experiment can also be observed. We will make another setup. Just see here. We can take another test tube here like this, right? Now allow this delivery tube to pass into this. Take some water in this test tube, right? Now what will happen? The HCl gas which is produced from here, it will move through the delivery tube, come down, and it will reach the water solution. It will reach the water. There it will get this HCl gas, dry HCl gas will mix with the water, and then it will form free H plus ion here. right? Now this solution will be acidic because dry HCl gas is in contact with the water. So now this solution will become acidic, and we can also check it by dropping some blue litmus solution. If we put blue litmus solution into this test tube, you will find that this solution, the color of this solution has changed to red color. That means this proves that acid show acidic behavior only in the presence of water. Now one more thing I would like to tell you here, that if we take two test tubes, let's take two test tube here, right? In one test tube I will add, in one test tube I will take distilled water, right? In another test tube I take rainwater, okay? Then I'll add same amount of HCl, then I'll add same amount of HCl into distilled water also and in the rainwater also, right? This much of distilled water, same amount of rainwater, then I'll add same amount of HCl into both the test tubes A and B. Now what will happen? Can you tell me that which of the test tube will have more H plus ion? See here, the distilled water, we know that it is free from any type of impurities. It do not possess any type of impurities, whereas the rainwater may contain some amount of dissolved acid into it or some dissolved salt it may have into it. So when I add same amount of HCl in both the test tube, then what will happen? The H plus ion will be obviously more in case of the rainwater than in the distilled water. This HCl will dissociate to form H plus ion in the distilled water also, and H plus ion will be formed in the rainwater also. But the amount of H plus ion produced will be more in case of the rainwater because it already have certain dissolved substances, dissolved acids into it, right? Now next, now what is the difference between what is the difference between a concentrated acid and a dilute acid? Let us see. A concentrated acid and a dilute acid. Right. Now what is the difference between concentrated and dilute acid? See here, a concentrated acid is an acid that have more quantity of acid and less quantity of water, whereas the diluted acid, it has more quantity of water and less quantity of acid. Now to dilute an acid is a very important process, and we have to perform this process very carefully because the process of dilution is an exothermic process. Because the process of dilution is an exothermic process and a lot of heat energy is evolved in this case. Now see, if we want to dilute an acid, how we are going to do it? Take a beaker, right? Now in this beaker, see, if we want to dilute an acid, we have to take water in the beaker, right? You take water in the beaker and acid that we have to put. And whatever acid we have to drop by drop, we have to put the acid into this beaker so that this acid will get mixed with the water. And we should be very careful, and we should be continuously we should stir this liquid, and this acid has to be put into this beaker drop by drop. Gradually we have to put acid into this beaker. This process is called as dilution. Now you see here, when the acid is dropped into the water, then what happens? The heat energy, obviously it is an exothermic process, so heat energy will be liberated. Now what will happen in this case? When this acid comes in contact with the water, there is large quantity of water and less amount of acid. So what will happen? The heat energy produced will be absorbed by this water and the heat energy will not splash out of the beaker. But you just see the other case. If we take acid here and we will drop water into the acid, then what will happen? Now the acid quantity is more and we are dropping water into it. Then what will happen? When the water comes in contact with such a large amount of acid, then what happens? Heat energy will be liberated. and that heat energy, due to that heat energy released by the acid, the water which is dropped into the acid, it will get converted into steam. It will get converted into steam and it will rise up, and it may get splashed out from the beaker and we may get acid burn. So dilution is a very important process. While diluting an acid, we should add acid into water and not water into acid, right? So this is regarding the dilution of acid. Now what is the effect of dilution? If we dilute an acid, then what will happen? What will happen to the H plus ion concentration? See here, when we dilute an acid, then H plus ion concentration will be reduced, right? Then H plus ion concentration will be reduced when we dilute an acid. So a concentrated acid have more H plus ion as compared to the dilute acid. Now next is, suppose we want to check that it is an exothermic reaction. Okay, then we can just touch the bottom of the beaker. We will feel the warmth. So that is an exothermic reaction and the heat is evolved. The next is, what do all base have in common? What do all base have in common? Right. Now see here, NaOH, KOH, it is a base. Sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide. According to Arrhenius, he has given the definition for the base as, a base is a substance that dissociate in the water and produce hydroxide ion. So base produce hydroxide ion on dissociation with the water. For example, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, when they get dissociated with the water in the aqueous state, it will form Na plus OH minus ion, right? Now here also K plus OH minus ion. So a base on dissociation with the water produces hydroxyl ion. This is a common property of all the bases. And one more thing, the base which is soluble in water, the base which is soluble in water is called as alkali. The base which is soluble in water is called as alkali. Now an acid can be a strong acid or it can be a weak acid. Similarly, a base can be a strong base or a base can be a weak base. Okay, now let us see what a strong acid is. Strong acid, weak acid, strong base and a weak base, right? Now strong acids are the acids that completely get ionized to form free ions, that is the H plus ion. It completely get ionized or completely dissociate in the water to form H plus ion. And if an acid is a strong acid, then it produces large number of H plus ion. And what is a weak acid? A weak acid is an acid that only gets partially ionized to form H plus ion. And the H plus ion produced in case of the weak acid will be less than as compared to the strong acid. Similarly, in case of the strong base, a base which get completely ionized on dissociation with the water and it produces large OH minus ion, it is called as a strong base. It get completely ionized, whereas a weak base is the base that get partially ionized to form OH minus ion. So in case of the strong base, more OH minus ion will be produced. In case of the weak base, less OH minus ion will be produced. Strong acid, more H plus ion, weak acid, less H plus ion. But since it is an acid, so definitely it is going to produce H plus ion. It is a base, so it will produce OH minus ion. Acid, it will definitely produce H plus ion. Now let us see some of the examples. Now you can see here some of the strong acids, weak acid, strong base and weak base. See here, in case of the strong acid HCl in the aqueous form, that is HCl mixed with the water, it is forming H plus and Cl minus ion. This it is getting completely ionized to form H plus and Cl minus ion. Similarly, H2SO4, it is a strong acid in the aqueous form. When mixed with the water, it is forming H plus and Cl minus ions, right? And here also the complete dissociation of H2SO4 into H plus ion is taking place. In case of the weak base, weak acid, you can see CH3 acetic acid is a weak acid, and see here the strong acid is denoted by a single arrow, whereas a weak acid is denoted by a double-headed arrows, CH3CO plus and H plus ion, right. Now in case of the strong base, NaOH, right, it will get dissociated into Na plus OH minus ion, and here K plus OH minus ion, right. Now in case of the weak base, NH4OH, NH4 plus OH minus ion. See here the strong base, it is represented by a single arrow in the forward direction, and the weak base denoted by the double arrow, right. So this is regarding the strong acid and strong acid, weak acid, strong base and weak base. Now see students, I have a slide for you. You can see here some common acids and their chemical formula. Please have a look at the screen. You can see some common acids and their chemical formula, and also I have another slide for you, that is some naturally occurring sources of acid. You can see here oranges and lemon, they are having citric acid, apple malic acid, tomatoes having oxalic acid, tamarind tartaric acid, sour milk or curd, it is having lactic acid, vinegar have acetic acid, then protein have amino acid, ant sting have methanoic acid, nettle sting have methanoic acid. These are some of the naturally occurring sources of acid. Now children, next is how can we measure the strength of an acid or strength of a base. Now the relative strength of acid or a base, it can be measured with the help of a pH scale, Now let me draw a pH scale. See here the range of the pH scale, it vary from 0 to 14, right, and exactly 7 pH value is the pH value for a neutral solution. It has a pH value of 7. Now what is this pH value actually? In this pH value, P stands for potence or the power and H stands for the hydrogen ion concentration, means the power of hydrogen ion concentration, it is called as the pH value, and the pH value is inversely proportional to the hydrogen ion concentration in any solution, right, the hydrogen ion concentration in any solution. Now see here the water which is free from any impurities, it has the pH value exactly equal to 7, right, exactly equal to 7. That means in case of the water with the pH value is equal to 7, the concentration of H plus ion is equal to the concentration of OH minus ion, right. Now suppose in water, if we add little acid into this water, then what will happen? The concentration of the hydrogen ion will be more than the concentration of the OH minus ion. Now what will happen? The solution will become acidic because the H plus ion is more than the OH minus ion. Okay. Now instead of acid, so it becomes an acidic solution, isn't it? It becomes an acidic solution. Now if instead of acid, if I take water and I put some basic solution, some base solution if I put into the water, then what will happen? See here, the concentration of H plus ion will be less than the concentration of the OH minus ion, right. So the concentration of the OH minus ion increases. That means this solution becomes a basic solution. This solution becomes a basic solution, and just I'll tell you the pH value, it will become a basic solution, right. So water with the pH value exactly equal to 7, it is neutral in nature because the concentration of H plus ion and concentration of OH minus is equal in that case, right. So if H plus ion is less, OH is more, it is basic solution, and if it is H plus ion is more than the OH minus ion in a solution, then it will be an acidic solution. Now what about the pH value? Just see here. See here, the pH range varies from 0 to 14. From 7 it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. These are the pH value of different substances. See here, in the previous class I told you a substance is an acid or a base. It can be tested with the help of a litmus solution. That is a common indicator. We can use the litmus solution, then we can just able to know that the given solution is acidic or basic. By using a litmus solution, we can just find out whether a given solution is acidic or basic. But what is the relative strength of that acid or what is the relative strength of that base, we cannot find out by using the litmus paper. Now by knowing the pH value, we can easily find out the relative strength of the relative strength of an acid or a base. See here, the acidic solution, as this is a pH scale, as we move from 7 to 0, the acidic character, it increases, right? The acidic character increases. As we move from 7 to 14, what is happening? The basic character increases, right? See here, when you move from 7 to 0, right, from 7 to 0, the acidic character is increasing. So what will be the effect on the hydrogen ion? What will happen to the H plus ion? The H plus ion will also increase because the acidic character is increasing. See here, as we move like this, that means the solution which will have the pH value 1 will be more acidic than the solution having the pH value 5, right? So as we move like this from 7 to 0, the acidic character increases and also the hydrogen ion concentration is also increasing along with the acidic character, right? But what will happen to the pH value? The pH value will get reduced. If the H plus ion concentration is increasing, the pH value is getting reduced. It will become lesser. See here, pH value 6, it is less acidic, whereas the pH value 2, it is more acidic, right? And in this case, in the case of the base, what happens? As we move from 8 to 14, the basic character increases, and here the hydroxyl ion concentration is also increasing. Here in this case, hydroxyl ion concentration is increasing. But when we move like this, the acidic character increasing, the H plus ion concentration is also increasing in this case. So this is the pH scale. Now, to know the relative strength of an acid or a base, we have a group of indicator which is called as a universal indicator, right? To check the or to find the pH value of a substance, we have this universal indicator. A paper is also available impregnated with the universal indicator, and this paper is called as the pH paper. We can also use pH paper or the universal indicator to find out the pH value of any solution. And the pH value, the color, this universal indicator and this pH paper gives different color in different solution. See here, like lemon juice is also having acid in it. HCl is also having acid in it, but HCl is more acidic than lemon juice, and HCl is more acidic than acetic acid also. So this universal indicator or the pH paper gives different color in depending upon how much acidic a substance is or how much less acidic a substance is. They will give different types of colors in that. Right. Now whatever color this universal indicator or the pH paper is giving on treating them with the acid or a basic solution, that color can be matched with a pH color chart. It can be matched with the pH color chart. You can see the pH color chart on your screen. Here I have you this pH color chart. You can see the pH color chart, and we can match the color from the pH color chart. Now here you can see the importance of pH in everyday life. See here, pH in our digestive system. See, our stomach, it produces HCl, and this HCl is very much essential to kill the germs that enter into our body through our food. But sometimes due to some when we eat some spicy food, then at that time what happens, the excess acid is produced in our stomach, that causes irritation and pain in the stomach. At that time what we take, we are advised to take the antacid, which are the preparation of mild base, which is called as the magnesium hydroxide. This magnesium hydroxide react with the acid and it neutralizes the effect of the acid, and we can get relief from the pain. So pH, to maintain the proper pH in the digestive system, it is very much essential. Then pH change is a cause of tooth decay. See here, our teeth are made up of teeth enamel, and that is made up of the hardest substance, that is the hardest substance in our body, that is the calcium phosphate. But sometimes what happens, when we don't brush our teeth or when we don't clean our mouth after eating food, then what happens, the bacteria that degrade the sugar which is present in our teeth and causes the tooth decay, and as a result what happens, the acid is produced, and this acid causes the tooth decay. And actually this calcium phosphate, it is not at all, it is not soluble in water, but what happens, due to the presence of acid, it gets corroded and then it is removed from the teeth. So we have to maintain the pH of our teeth, and so it is always advised to we should brush our teeth after eating food, right? And we should also check that our toothpaste should have good amount of base. It should be basic in nature. If we want to test whether our toothpaste is basic or not, we can test it with the help of the pH paper, right? Next is that the plants and animals are pH sensitive. Plants, animal, also human, we are very pH sensitive. Why? Because, and one more thing is that if the, see in this case, in the tooth decay, if the pH of the mouth falls below 5.5, then the corrosion of the tooth enamel takes place. And then plants and animals are pH sensitive, including human. In case of the human, the internal metabolic activities inside our body takes place between the pH value 7 to 7.8. If the pH value falls down the 7 or it rises from 7.8, then what will happen, we feel difficult to maintain the body function, and all the metabolic activities will be affected. The human blood, then our tears and saliva, they have the pH value of 7.4. Then plants are pH sensitive because plants need a narrow range of, they show better growth in the narrow range of pH, that is 7. Around 7 they need the pH value around 7, that is neither need a acidic soil nor they require a alkaline soil. So they grow better in the pH value of 7, right? Now what happens, suppose you want to check whether the soil is acidic or basic, so we can collect the sample, we can collect the soil sample from the different localities and take in the test tubes, and take different samples in the test tube and then put some water, take the soil sample in the test tube and then put some water into it, stir it well, then filter it, obtain the filtrate, and then this filtrate can be checked with the help of the this thing, universal indicator or pH paper, right? So it will tell us whether it is acidic or basic, right? If the soil is acidic, then we can apply some basic solution like calcium hydroxide can be applied to the soil so that it becomes basic. If the soil is found to be acidic, then okay. If the soil is found to be basic, then we can apply certain organic substances like manure, because that have some acidic properties, right? Now animals are also pH sensitive, that is the aquatic animals. Sometimes due to acid rain, the pH of the river water falls down and it becomes very much difficult for the aquatic animals to survive in that water. Next is the defense mechanism by animals and plants. Animals like honeybee or ant, when they stung us, then what happens, they inject formic acid or methanoic acid into our skin, and at that time what happens, we get pain or irritation. Now this pain and irritation can be removed, or we can get rid of this pain or irritation by applying a basic solution into it. We can apply baking soda. Suppose baking soda is not there in our home, then what we do, we immediately take Colgate, that is the toothpaste which is also basic in nature, we can apply over that. So that will neutralize the effect and we will get relief from the pain. Even the plants, the nettle plant, Even the nettle plant, the leaves of the nettle plant have certain hair-like structures, and if this, by accidentally, if we come in contact with this leaf, this, due to this stinging hairs, it will inject methanoic or formic acid into our skin, and we may get irritation or pain. Again, by applying a base into it, like baking soda, we can get relief from the pain, right? So this is the importance of pH in everyday life. So students, today we have studied about the acid and base, the common properties, what is common in all the acids, what is common in all the base, then regarding the pH paper, then the universal indicator, all these topics we have studied. Now I have a very small assignment for you. You can just look at your screen and you can take a snapshot of this, and this is the assignment, 5 questions I have given you. This is from the same topic that I have taught you today. Try to answer this, and for this class we have this much, and we'll continue in the next class. Thank you.